What I want you guys to do is fresh out the pack, you are going to get some tape. Now, I like this painter's tape, and you're going to expand the fan, and this is going to actually keep the fan, the plastic pieces in place so you know exactly where to put it back. And so I'm showing you. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the cloth from the plastic pieces. It still does have some adhesive to it, but you're going to take that all the way off. So let's get into it. One of the first things you're going to do is you are going to open up your template. So your base template actually comes with these two, and then you also have this blank page here, okay? And so what we want to do is we're going to take a look at the template. I'm going to break it down. I'm not going to do a full design tutorial, guys. I just want to highlight what I want you guys to keep in mind. And one of the things I do want you to keep in mind is this circle represents the open part or the middle of the fan. So you can feel free to change it to a different color by clicking on the image. Up here next to edit, there is a color wheel, and then you're just going to change the color to whatever you see fit, okay? We don't keep this in the template. We actually delete this out and the black piece out when we're done, okay? So that's the first part. So when it comes to the template, anything that is here, this line here, guys, this little, here, I'm going to move this down. The edge of this is anything designed to the bottom of that may or may not show. So you can feel free to resize it to if you want to cut this little extra off. That's completely fine, up to you. But what I did was I made sure that all of my design was focused in this black part, and knowing that anything that this circle covers, this is not going to fit. So while I designed, I just kind of moved it over here in the corner to the side, and I just designed inside of here. So I made sure my images were big enough or large enough. I kind of sort of put this back, lined it up evenly, and then there we go. So this way you'll know how much room you actually have, okay? So again, just keep that in mind. And if your circle moves, you're just guesstimating, but remember, just keep the circle part in mind when you're designing. So I actually started a different design for Mardi Gras that I have not finished. Again, I'm not going to do a full design tutorial on this. So what I did was I just went to Elements and I typed in Mardi Gras, and I also found images of Lil Wayne, and I put them into Canva. And how you upload or put images into Canva, you're going to go to your uploads and you're going to upload files, and then you're going to find a particular file. So I have this one here. It's going to load into Canva, and then I can use this somewhere here. I do like the junk style. For me, I like to put a whole bunch of extra words and pictures and all that stuff, but I also like to keep in mind that you can't do this or anything outside of this black and or where the circle would be. I know that all of this may get cut off, so what I'll do is I'll come back and add in the circle to make sure I'm keeping myself aligned with what I'm doing. So we can go back to Elements. If you're doing Mardi Gras, if you're doing birthday parties, if you're doing wedding, you would just type in wedding, and then you can use these, or you can go to the internet and find the images and then upload them. So that's all I did. I didn't do anything spectacular. This template, which is the base template, it includes this file here. It also includes the Where Them Girls At Boots file. That file is a Canva Pro file, and it is $5 available on my website. But I found this to work with the fans that came from Amazon. So again, guys, I would not deviate. I can't tell you about any other fans than the one that I'm going to drop the link for, and it may be sold out due to the high demand. So you may have to find a different one or wait for those to come into stock, and then you'll have to remeasure those. But I specifically made this template for those as well. And if we're looking at the size of the canvas, this here is a 26.25 by 18. That's the size that I made the canvas again, but I measured my fan. So if your fan is a little bit different, either smaller, bigger, you will have to adjust it, but I would try to keep this in mind as a base to go forward. So what we would do after this is, let's say we have finished designing this. So I'm going to scroll back up here to the boots on the ground. I would delete this part here, and I'm going to delete this because truly all we need is this base part of the image. And then I'm going to go to share, and then I'm going to go to download, and I'm going to download this as a PNG, and I only want page number 3. Now, for you guys that have a 13 by 19 inch printer, what's going to happen, or anything that's smaller, you are going to have to split your images because it's going to take additional pieces of paper to do so. So if you use Microsoft Word, or if you use Silhouette, or whatever you use to split your images, the technique is actually the same. We're going to go to Canva and we're going to change this from pixels to inches, and we're going to do 12.75 by 18.75. And what this does, this actually gives us a 1/4 inch border, so we're not actually going to print to the full length and width of the 13 by 19, but you'll see why in a minute. So once we get into Canva, we're actually going to resize this. So you're going to go over here, it says position, and then you are going to change this to the 26.25, and it should auto proportion to about the 18, but make sure that lock is pressed. And what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this 3 times, but as you can see, I'm giving myself some space at the top and the bottom of the page, and then we're going to do some comparison between pages 1, 2, and 3. So I'm looking at page 1 to see where it starts and stops. Then I'm going to page 2, and I'm actually creating some kind of overlap in between the 2 images. So there we go. And so I'm going to move that over just a little bit more, and then I'll do the same. Now, you don't have to do an overlap with this, but I find it to be easier when trying to align them, especially if I'm not trying to have a line down the center. It just makes it easier. So I'm just comparing the 2 between each, and don't worry about the parts that hang off. They won't be printed anyways. Canva knows to actually cut those off. So next we're going to go to share and then download, and we're going to download each of these as a PNG. So I'm downloading them individually, page 1, 2, and 3, and make sure you keep the background. So do not check transparent. You can actually download it as a JPEG as well, okay? So the next part here is we are going to go over to Microsoft Word. And inside of Microsoft Word, we want to do a blank document, and then we're going to head over to where it says our layout. Now, once we get over to layout, it's going to actually have you choose your paper size, and I'm going to change that to the Super B. Make sure your printer drivers are installed. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually insert the picture there from our computer, and then we're going to do this one at a time. And you can insert multiple page breaks. You can do 1, 2, and 3, and then print back to back. Looking at this now, I'm like, I don't know why I didn't do that, but you can do it that way. Next, make sure you right click on it, and then you're going to make sure you move it. Do your wrap text, and you're going to hit any of those that'll actually move it for you. Now up here in that right hand corner, we're going to put that right back, guys, to that 12.75 by 18.75. So this way it actually fits on there for us, okay? And then we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show you guys my print settings. But again, I am leaving some white around the edges. So make sure you keep that in mind. And we're going to play around the print settings. Now, this works for me. So I'm going to go to print. And I'm going to go to properties. Make sure your paper size shows up. I'm going to change this to premium presentation matte, high quality. And then I'm going to go over here to my more options. I'm going to turn off the bidirectional printing and mirror this. And I'm going to go to custom and options, and I'm going to change this to Adobe RGB, okay, in 2.2. And I don't touch anything else. I hit OK, and then we're going to go ahead and print. I am using an EcoTank 15,000 to print these out, and you have to pre-press your fan. And I did it at the same 335, but I only did it for about 10 to 15 seconds, and that was good enough because I did not want to over press it, okay? So we've already pre-pressed our fan. Again, that's at that 335 for 10 to 15 seconds. Now I'm cutting off all the excessive white. Again, I could have moved this over a bit more, but that's neither here nor there. The outside edges of the one side I didn't really worry too much about removing because we weren't going to be pressing all the way over there anyways. This next part here, what we want to do is, y'all see that we have a little bit of an overlap, and I promise you it's going to save your life by doing it this way, but you do not have to. And so I'm just lining it up for the overlap. As y'all can see right there, the letter H looks like it's doubled. And then I use a piece of heat tape, and I just tape the top part up there. just a little bit. This allows me to actually be able to flip it over and tape the back side of it. So you're going to do that to both the top and the bottom. And you can use the yellow heat tape. I really don't like that one too much because to me sometimes it leaves like a yellow residue. So now I'm just looking to make sure it looks good to me. And then I just tape a little piece at the bottom, and then you'll see me, y'all, I'll tape the back of it. So I just flipped it over, and then don't worry, y'all, I got y'all. I'm gonna slide this back into the camera view. I'm just making sure that it stayed down pretty well. And the good thing I like about not cutting it out or having an extra space, it allows me to be able to kind of put the tape at the top without it going into the design. So then I took another piece of the clear heat transfer tape, and I ran it along the side, and I ran my finger down to make sure it is as smooth as possible with no bubbles, no creases, none of that, okay? And y'all know I do not have a tape dispenser. I've been using my scissors, so it is what it is at this point. So we actually repeat the same exact process for the other side. I don't believe you need to tape a whole bunch of pieces and do all that. I mean, I got away pretty good with just that one solid piece of tape. And so I'm just showing you guys this is what it looks like. Now I know some of you guys are going to ask about the line down the middle, and as long as your pressure is good and you're not popping that heat press up, you really will not be able to see the line, and plus you have that overlap as well, okay? So I'm just repeating the process on this side. Don't worry too much if this one isn't 100%, y'all, because we're only using like that little sliver is not even going to go all the way to the edge, so we will have more space towards the end. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so those are your pieces. And so now we're going to take our fan. Remember, we did this 335 for about 10 to 15 seconds. And we are going to use the heat tape. Do not use spray. I tried to use spray, and spray actually wrinkled the fan. This was actually the better way for me to do it. So I wouldn't recommend like any kind of adhesive spray on this part here. The material is very thin. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to take your heat tape, and I taped a piece at both of the edges at the bottom, a few pieces around the top curve, and then that inside part of the fan as well. I feel like you could just never have too much tape, but you want to make sure it is as flat as you possibly can get it, okay? The fan will eventually fold on its own because that's what it's made to do, and you'll see that towards the end. But just make sure you use more tape than what you think. I'd rather be safe than sorry. This is press number 2, and as y'all can see, I still have some of it hanging off of my heat press. I'm using a 16 by 24 Fancier Studios, and it is still hanging off. But make sure you are not violently popping this thing off, guys, because you will get ghosting. And if you feel like you need to go down again and do it longer, that's perfectly fine, but I would just do increments of 5 because it will begin to bubble a little bit. And y'all, look at the colors. Yeah, absolutely stunning. So I would highly recommend you continue to use these settings for these fans. And each of these guys, if you look at the back of it, let me get it, there you go, you can actually see where these are supposed to go and exactly where they line up at it. So you would just put those on accordingly. Now on this side, if the adhesive is not, like for mine, it's not that great anymore, I actually used just some double-sided tape, and I put double-sided tape along each of these. But this is the reason why you are to keep this connected, because it makes it easier for you to just flip this back over and assemble, and you can take it off piece by piece, right? So That's what you're gonna do. I don't think we need a video to explain how to do that. We're just lining these back up. This part here can be a little bit tricky, so be careful. I'm gonna show you guys the front of it and what I mean. So you would just, again, line these up, put this one here, this one goes here, spread this one out, that one goes there. That one goes here, double-sided tape. That one goes there. And what I did was I used the double-sided tape, and I put the double-sided tape on all along these first, okay? That just made more sense to me to do it that way. And then I just popped them on there one by one. So what I want you guys to know, though, is to make sure you pay attention to your fan. Make sure that one goes in front, okay? When we're looking at it, you can actually see that this one here is actually behind the black. It's not on top of it. So that is the only one that is like that. So your entire fan, all of them, the entire fan should be on top of the sticks. When you get to that last stick, it should actually be, or the fabric should be behind that last stick, okay? So make sure you keep that in mind, because I actually messed that up the first time. I'm like, this does not look right. And then also the first two, so the first one on the left and then the first one on the right, they actually have a more square appeal. And this is how it turned out. If you are not a member of our wonderful craft group, girl, how you do that on Facebook? I'll always say, I don't know where y'all are. I will leave the link for the fans. I will also leave the link for the template down below. Appreciate y'all and have a very wonderful day.